Last year, Melbourne bands known best for creating a loud racket teamed up to create an even louder racket, the kind that sounds like a swirl of the modern times, an orgy of omens that signals something truly dismal ahead of us. Tropical Fuckstorm could sound like a shitpost, but the message in their music is dead serious, even if equipped with a very wry and sardonic sense of humour, although not really in a haha this is what we've done to ourselves kind of mocking way. I see it as more of a nervous laughter, as if to say, oh god, this is what we've done to ourselves, which is a lot more effective and honestly a bit more terrifying. Though A Laughing Death in Meat Space might have been a titan of an album, pummeling with loud, overwhelming surges of distorted, jagged guitar tones, plus neurotic vocals that drunkenly slur around the divots of political panic, Braindrops, to me at least, might be even more compelling on a musical level, because it's a lot more restrained and focuses so much more on the subtleties, piecing together a song that flows, instead of just mushroom clouding everything with fire and bullet bills. Mind you, Meat Space is excellent, but there are still ways to improve on excellence. I suppose you really have to look at yourself a lot more to achieve that, which is apt given the themes. Braindrops sounds far more wastelandish, but not as a symbol of the impending future, rather a portrait of where we're actually at right now, malnourished of any real sensibility. They've got Looney Tunes biology on the planet of straw men, Gaz mutters on the second track, written to describe the decoys and easy spectacles in the public eye that distract us from much greater and more impactful matters. Gaz describes a space race to the planet of straw men, which is diverting our attention away from the injustices we already have on planet Earth. As he does this, backing vocalists Erica Dunn and Fiona Kishin wail to emphasize various phrases of Gaz's dialect, which is a very clever and common technique among TFS's music, making the stories that they recount scamper with even more frantic energy at the right moments. On the opening track, alternatively, Gaz and Fee's vocals do more of an exchange on the chorus, which proves really effective when it comes to the bait and switch of these lines. Every time the story makes one step further of unfolding the narrative, it's only shot back down again by a brutal reminder that everything dies and that's the way it's always been. This relationship between progress and regress is a pretty big glue that holds this album together, as if to mirror the toxicity in human interaction. On Who's My Eugene, Erica Dunn takes the lead and bases her analysis of gaslighting and manipulation tactics on the real-life story of Brian Wilson and his therapist Eugene Landy. The song is named after Landy, but the lyrics capture the Lydiardistic, microcosmic technique of being better applicable to the wider case of how humans behave in response to each other, asking from Wilson's perspective whether Eugene is a part of them. It is the way that people are led to really believe that they are nothing without their counterpart. It's genuinely terrifying. The closing track, Maria 63, highlights the way that far-right conspiracy theories used to be considered obsolete and silly, but have seen a resurgence in recent times upon greater exposure to people, influencing their toxic ideologies. Gareth Lydiard's writing has always been very skilled in telling stories about certain people in history and the psychology behind it, using this as a means to explore wider reaching concerns, but it all pieces together beyond just that. The way that Aspirin reads like a post-breakup song by struggling to let go, a callback to the hook of track 4 by the way. I describe this as a post-breakup song, but not in any fond manner. The narrator describes a lot of sights that reminds them of the times they had, but the further the song unfolds, the more you begin to realize that this is more about trauma, where someone has become so involved in your life that separating yourself from them is almost impossible. So many little details can become a symbol of the past, and although this is an effective song on its own, in the context of the album, it almost gains a new meaning. Reminds me of the way that certain public figures and icons and images become symbiotic with a certain ideology, as often against their own will. It reminds me of this cover art, seeing very familiar objects and characters suddenly put into a really disturbing context and representing something a lot more horrifying. TFS also do this excellent job here of having a lot of clarity in their music, despite also sounding initially like a plastering of confusing noise. Sometimes the layers of guitar tweaking can be a little overwhelming, and if they were clumsier, they could have even distracted from the main melody, but I think this doubly works in their favor. It's the most coherent tropical fuckstorm I've ever heard, and not that I've heard that many in the first place. It means that whether they're scampering with a bouncy dance punk groove on the Happiest Guy Around, or the sparse, futile instrumental interlude Desert Sands of Venus that uses the Persian scale, it's very easy to digest in one go. Because the collective of Gaz, Fifi, RKO and Hammer have refined their collective sound a little bit, focusing on subtleties instead of blasting us with sheer colossal walls of noise, it gives Braindrops lots of breathing room, and for me, even a lot more to think about with every next listen. Like little Braindrops. 8 out of 10.